album now, a song that really exudes that confidence. This is Follow Me, which I believe was released this June.
Uh-huh.
So, no more following the guy's dreams. You're in charge. I want to ask you about being a Colombian woman. In my experience, including having a female business partner from Colombia, that Colombian women are kind of stand out among Latinas. They're really independent. Sometimes they can be really stubborn, and they're always really determined. Is that true? Does that describe you?
Yeah, I think we're all like very determined, like we know what we want. So maybe like that kind of translates in some stubbornness, but it's like not like the bad side of being stubborn. And I feel like it's also being like passionate, like about what you want to do. And like, yeah, I feel like we are like very persistent, determined, like very resilient, like about what we love. So like we will do anything like to fight for it. And I feel, yeah, like basically speaking like for all women, but especially Latin women and Colombian women, like we have like that kind of like feel like a bigger fire like in us that is like pushing boundaries. So yeah, I feel like it's kind of a nice description, the one that you mentioned.
Well, I noticed that you were involved in an art exhibition in Mexico City called Empowering Women.
Yes.
Can you tell us about it and what your role was?
Sure, yeah, it was a campaign, it called Empowering Women and Women Working for Women, which portrayed 8 women in different jobs that were basically representing like that female power in jobs that have been like associated basically with men. So there was, for example, a pilot, there was a skateboarder, there was a tattoo artist, there was a metal guitarist, and I was representing the DJs and music producers in there. And they had like these huge paintings like all over the city of Mexico. Then they had it also like in Spain and in Italy, but of like the face of each woman that was like in the campaign, and like a quote like saying like what female power was to them basically.
I take it being a DJ and working in the electronic music field has traditionally in Latin America been a male area.
Exactly.
Did you run into problems trying to get in?
Well, it was like it's funny because when I began like being into the electronic scene and everything, like I actually wasn't aware of that like kind of sexism that's still like there, and especially in like Latin countries, like it's very present. But I remember like I always like my point of everything I made was like to prove my talent through music, and like that should be like the basis of determining if like the art is worthy of being like valued. So yeah, I remember like when I had like my first show, it was even a festival and we were like 40 DJs and I was the only woman. And when we had like the meeting like of the DJs and everything, like I remember like nobody had looked at me like so bad as those men like looked at me. It was like a piece of trash like just came into the room. But it was like, I'm not going like these men like tear me down. Like they don't even know me, they don't know like what I make. So I'm just gonna go ahead and like play my show. And I decided like besides DJing like to play guitar solos and to sing while I was DJing. And I remember when I came down from stage, like all the men were like, oh, like we're crazy. And it was like, it worked because like they had like this kind of like already like judgmental like position like in front of me, which is basically like a stereotype I think like that makes people believe like, oh, if women are DJs they don't have talent. But then it's like, yeah, we have talent, like we have talent to do whatever we want to make as well. So
women can do anything men can do, plus they can have babies.
Exactly.
All right. Let me remind our listeners that we're talking with the Colombian-born master of electronic pop, multiple languages and instruments, Ali Stone, and she's a really nice person. This interview was recorded earlier, so don't call in, but we do have some email questions sent in earlier, and I'm going to read those email questions. Awesome. Okay, these are from your fans around the country. Racine from New York City wants to know, what's your favorite musical instrument?
Oh, that's hard because I I have kind of like this dual love for piano and guitar because it's so like they show so different sides of me. Like with classical piano, it's kind of like the sweet, like delicate side of me. But then like with the guitar, I play like all the metal and like rock, so it's like that super dark. Like it's kind of having like the light and the dark like in one place. So yeah, those two.
Roberto from Los Angeles wants to know, what equipment do you use on stage?
Well, it usually varies, like depending on like the size of like my show, which is like a one-girl band show. But I usually have, as for like the DJ setup, I usually have or a computer setup with Ableton, or a Pioneer CDJ setup, or a Native Instruments control setup. And then for the instruments, I usually use my Gibson guitar. I usually have a Les Paul Studio or an SG, which I love both because they're like super rock sounding. I use a Line 6 pedal board. I use the V drums, the Roland V drums. And I also use the Roland synths, like maybe the JBX1 or the Jupiter. And I also have a Gibson bass, like when I have like the full thing. I have all of that, and yeah, and then like the vocals, like the mic for the vocals, and that's it basically.
Sounds like when you play a venue, you've got to roll up with a truck and
Exactly.
people help you move all
Yeah.
this equipment out.
Exactly, yeah, that's like when I get to play like the whole thing. But yeah, like when it's like a tinier setup, it's usually like just the DJ setup.
Well, I hope that you have lots of people help you unload it and set
Yeah,
it
I
up.
know.
Yeah, right, okay. Selena from Tampa wants to know, when are you going to tour again and where will you be?
Well, I'm actually I'm heading back to Colombia in September because I'm having 2 shows, and I'm also having a congress of women in business, which I'm going to be speaking. But then my plan is to begin touring like next year, and especially because I'll be releasing new material, a new EP, new album as well. This year I'll be releasing a new single as well, but it's going to be also linked like to other new releases I'll be having with other artists. So yeah, like the touring will be like mostly like for next year.
Maria Elena wants to know, will you put t-shirts on your page? I want a t-shirt with your symbol.
Oh, okay, yeah, like the t-shirts like with my logo.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like I actually have like I've been making like all the merch and everything like with, I don't know, like snapbacks like with my logo, and I designed it so it's like really cool like to be able like to put it like into clothing and everything. But yeah, and I actually had some t-shirts that I sold before, like back in Colombia, but I gotta make new ones like with the logo and everything.
When you do, I'll buy one.
Oh, awesome,
Okay?
for sure.
Regina from Austin. Regina from Austin says you need to create a clothing line that looks like the clothes you wear on stage.
Oh yeah, that's kind of actually like my dream, like to, like eventually like when you see that artists like begin like to create like a clothing line or like perfumes or whatever, like I want to make that, because I know like what I wear is like so distinct and like different like from everything that's out there, so it would be like nice for people like to have kind of like this jacket even, like, or I don't know, like this jewelry, because I also love jewelry. So yeah, like to make it like kind of like they can be alley stoned in that way.
Well, when you do, I'll buy one for my daughter.
Awesome.
All right, who's your age?
Oh, awesome.
All right. Polly in San Francisco wants to know, your story videos are so good, do you also act on television and in movies?
No, I haven't acted before. I used to act back in high school when I was in musical theater and everything, but it was like a different a different thing. But hopefully, like I think I would be like super open to acting. Especially, I really enjoy like comedy. I don't know, I really like comedy, but I love watching horror movies, so it's like acting comedy, and I'm just super happy always, but then like watching horror movies, yeah.
I should ask you, what's your favorite movie?
Oh, it's hard. I have many favorite movies, but one movie that I really like is When Harry Met Sally. I remember I watched it like back in high school for my cinematography class, and it was so good. I also like in comedy, I really like Bridesmaids. Like I just laugh every time I watch it. It's like it's so good. And Kristen Wiig, I love her. And in horror movies, I love like all the movies like from The Conjuring, Insidious, like everything that James Wan has made. Like I love it.
Okay, well, you're in the right town for acting. So,
Yeah.
we'll see. All right, maybe I'll see you on either the big or the
Awesome,
small
yeah.
screen. All right.
Hopefully.
Well, something else that stands out is your ability to pick up languages and instruments and really make them yours.
Thank you.
How do you do that? Is your brain just wired to learn anything you want to, whether it's French or drums?
I think I'm just like very disciplined. Like I've always been like very disciplined since a young age, and like kind of like perfectionist too, like within myself. So like if I'm trying like to learn something, like I won't get up like from the chair until I get to do like what I want to do. So it's like I have like this kind of like I put myself like goals, and it's like I gotta reach like this and this. So even like when I've been learning like instruments or like stuff, like I've always been like super nerdy too and like a geek, but I feel like it's positive like to be a geek because you're really like passionate about learning, and like that really drives like the determination of like spending like the time on learning something and like on really like acquiring like the full like knowledge of either like playing the drums or like speaking a language or like whatever you want to make. So I think it's a positive thing like having like that kind of perfectionism, because it really drives me into getting super involved and like super devoted into what I want to learn and into what I want to like make in life.
Wish I could do that. All right.